Well, welcome. It is Wednesday, the same time, or at least the same time as last week. Maybe not the same time as usual, but daylight savings. It is Wednesday, folks, for the Wednesday live stream where we talk about niche websites or nothing at all. But mostly what we do is hang out and chat and catch up, be accountable, admit maybe how badly the week went or maybe how well it went. I want to hear both of them and all of them. Hello, folks. I am checking the chat. I'm moving it to live chat so I can see everything that is over there. And I want to say hi to Pete and Jay-Z and Zach and Josh and Soren. How's it going? And Margaret and Adrian. Yes, friends, it is Wednesday. So I have a couple of things to talk about today, but mostly I want to open with how was your week? Like, did you have a good week? Did you get lots of stuff done? Me personally, and by the way, thank you, Soren, for confirming that my stress about the sound and is good. I was sitting here waiting for somebody to say that they could actually hear and that I wasn't just speaking to myself. Josh says that he gets to be here for an hour, which is awesome. People want to know how our friend Game Guy, who is also in the chat, how his cruise went. And lucky the chat's a big part of my accountability statement for this week. Took a handful of days away. It is spring break here for kids. We're on a break, so we actually went and did stuff for the last 4 or 5 days. And because COVID is still a thing, but not as much of a thing, a lot of the things that we like to do were open. And we had some birthday parties, some kid birthday parties where kids actually got to hang out. And it just felt a little bit more like normal, like a couple of years ago, sort of normal, except older and sort of more swollen, because that's what happens with old age. Folks are praising Soren's videos. I do think Soren's videos are worth watching, and you should check them out. And Josh says, here we go with the dad jokes. Thank you. I didn't even have to ask for them. By the way, there are 0 thumbs up this morning. So if anybody is in there with the thumbs down, we're going to have to hit that to make sure that we can at least outweigh the. But Josh, first joke of the day is, what farm animal keeps the best time? A watchdog. I get it. I get it. Soren can't stay. His accountability for the week is finishing up one last course for the authority site and making a webinar presentation for the end of the month. Icarus will be on its way. Well done, friend. He's numbering the dad jokes. I know. So that way, if you come into the stream later, you know that it's worthwhile to go back and check the chat for the dad jokes that you missed. Dad joke number 2 is, what do you call a cow with no calf? It's decaffeinated. Well done. Let's see. As far as announcements, for those of you who missed the stream last week and didn't check it out, I did finally drop. I launched my personal branded blog. It's emiliagardner.blog. And the only post up there so far is the month 12 through 14 update for the MIGA site. I will spoil the surprise for those of you who haven't checked that out. The site broke 100,000 page views a month here in March, which is exciting and amazing. And I like to pat myself on the back for getting there in 14 months. But if you, because I'm still getting asked all the time, people are asking, like, how's the site doing? I'm like, I'm not making a video. So if you missed that, that is over there. Also, Otis is doing a spring break sale. They have like a small discount. It looks like for people who are looking at their premium age domains, if that's something that you're interested in and planning on doing already, there's a link in the description. You can check that out. You know, the cool thing about what they're doing over there at Otis is not just selling domains. They're actually trying to work towards creating sort of a membership site and a support for people who are buying their H domains. Now, as far as whether or not this is a good idea, still working on that. I have notes here to talk about my Otis case study series video. I know I have to do the month 2 video. I haven't done it yet, but I'm planning on doing it in the next couple of days. But it's been an interesting project. So I'm interested in testing it out and trying it out. It's been fun so far. As far as accountability, I was in the Project Icarus spreadsheet, and things have been a little quiet lately, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One is that it is a holiday week for many of us here in the United States. As far as kids being off from school, I think also the honeymoon phase of a 12-month project is over. So people are getting tired, or they're less motivated, and so they're not checking in the spreadsheet as much. I have gone back to my regular sort of routine of only working now when I don't have the kids at home, which means that there are a handful of days where I don't work. I don't even turn on this machine at all. So I go into the spreadsheet and just write kids. But for those of you who are checking into the spreadsheet, make sure to remember to leave a comment somewhere else in the spreadsheet. There's probably someone else in there who needs just that little spark, that little love. So, do a neighbor nudge, or just go across and look to see if there's a square anywhere where maybe somebody has been updating regularly and nobody has said anything to cheer them on. It's just keep the engagement up, because I do think it does help folks to just know that they're not the only one. This business, this arrangement. I don't like when people call the online business this game. This game is like mentally burdensome. And it's nice to just know that we are not alone. I also wanted to know if anybody out there is looking for a social like mastermind, like an online meetup, because I have been involved in a couple of those for the last couple of years and find them so valuable. Or if we, because we had talked about it several weeks ago, if anybody went out and started one, I would just like to know. It's okay that you didn't invite me. I don't need to be involved in anything, but it would be cool to know if folks are out there and making use of the support network that we have here in other ways. Like I've also seen that some other folks who are here on YouTube have started either doing live streams or talking about doing live streams of their own on their own channel, and also doing an accountability. I need to drink some coffee. Doing an accountability group spreadsheet of their own, which I also think is great. I will just straight up say it wasn't my idea. I did not come up with this idea. I saw that other people were doing it. Oh, please tell me that my internet is still working. Because right now what it says is my connection is unstable, and I will be so grumpy if it doesn't work. Am I still here? Is it still on? Somebody please confirm for me, because it just got the circle, the spinny circle of death. And so I'm worrying about now whether or not I'm still streaming. And so I'm just going to sit here and it's lagged a couple of seconds. Okay. I'm still waiting for somebody to say that we're good, and hangs occasionally, but comes back still on. Okay. I was stressed out a little bit there because, we had that traumatic experience a handful of weeks ago where it didn't work. Graham says that it buffered as I had a sip of coffee. It was perfect. Like it was planned, almost. Why did the tomato blush? Because he saw the salad dressing. Josh also says that he's halfway to his month numbers for the month, spring break, and his week out hiking. You still got a week to go, and I still think that's progress. Zach says that his month has been slow. Now you moved this month, Zach, so it would be expected for you to maybe be struggling this month. But the site at 5.5 months old hit 500 daily views, which I think is a great accomplishment. That feels like progress, right? Like still progress. Zach says that my sip of the coffee was the Folgers commercial. I remember that as a kid. What was it? The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. The jingle was so good that 30 plus years later, I can still remember it. Like I can still remember. Yes. There is Joanne, and I forgot to say hi to Maeve. What's going on? Maeve jumped on right as I was having technical issues, and not in my control. The internet hates me sometimes. There is Niche Safari Chris, and Chris, you got here just in time for us to blame you. There was a technical blip earlier with my internet, but it's back now. But it's Chris's fault, just so everybody knows, not mine. Checking in, I wanted to talk a little bit as far as the indexing situation on the MIGA site. So I think I talked quite a bit about this in the past. Last year, so the MIGA site, I was putting up a lot of content, and only about 2/3 to 3/4 of it was indexed, which was still good. But there, like at 500 articles, there was still 150 articles that were just not found in Soap Robot. And so I decided to do the experiment like at the end of last fall, probably November, December-ish, with the rank math indexing tool. And I used it for about maybe a month. Went back and hit just resubmitted everything that showed up not found in Soap Robot, regardless of whether or not Google Search Console, it showed green there. And everything that was in the discovered but not indexed tab moved into the crawled but not indexed tab, and then eventually moved into the green. And then eventually showed up as found and showed the URL in Soap Robot. And I was like, hooray. And then I went to update the plugin and it crashed the site, and I lost a day's worth of work. And then now I did try to like reincorporate the plugin back to the site after doing a backup to make sure that I was prepared in the event that that whatever update it still crashed the site. So I'm not currently using any sort of indexing type plugin or anything else. But what seems really interesting is that using that plugin for maybe a month seemed to shift my site from something, because now, and this never happened before, now when I post new content, it shows up in Soap Robot within about 48 hours, which is really unusual. Before, even stuff that would get indexed, it would show up as not found for a week, a couple of weeks, and then some of the articles would trickle in. And also, like the older stuff that had been not found for a long time is finding its way into the found. I mean, I don't want to say index because Google thought it was indexed. It just wasn't showing up as found in Soap Robot, but it's showing up in Soap Robot. And so now the average position of the content on this site is a 6, which is kind of mind-boggling in that in around December, the average position for the articles was around like 50, like 54. And it also shows that 786 of the 793 keywords that I have entered into Soap Robot are in the top 100. And what else am I doing as far as indexing is concerned? I am just doing some interlinking, but not being super aggressive about it. And it doesn't seem to matter because the new content that is going up seems to get indexed regardless of whether or not I actually set up links to it or from it. So what is the takeaway here? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It seems like, and I would lean on anybody else's opinions about what they think. It seems like using the rank math tool, the plugin, for a brief amount of time, I feel like it downshifted, right? Like it woke something up. I don't know what it is, but things are all green, and everything new that I'm posting is getting indexed pretty quickly. And I don't know. No. Get this though. If something doesn't index right away or it shows up not found in Soap Robot, it is almost always a keyword that has like the highest search volume, which is interesting. You'd say, okay, well, why that keyword over others? But if it doesn't show up, it's always a keyword with really, really high search volume, like way higher than anything else. So it makes you think back to Kyle Roof's formula about posting content for keywords in the range that Google says that your site can rank for. I don't know if I necessarily subscribe to all of it, but I just think it's interesting. And frankly, by now, with a site that gets 100,000 page views a month, there isn't probably too much that is out of my reach anymore for this site. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. I was looking at the stats before coming on because I was curious myself, because I'd been out for 4 or 5 days off of the computer. So I'm like, oh, like what does Soap Robot say? How is the content, the big old run of content that I posted right before I went out with the kids? How is it doing? Is it indexed? And everything except like 1 or 2 articles is in there. and the average position is a 6. So I just think it's really interesting. If anybody has any thoughts about it, I would be happy to hear them because I find it interesting. I'm checking over to the chat. I've got a dad joke, which is, what day do potatoes hate the most? And that's Friday. My kids have told me that one, so that one I've definitely heard. Graham says that he spent 6 hours manually changing his table of contents plugin, removing unused plugins and resizing images, trying to fix your LCP. I'm assuming that is for the leap, the Ezoic leap recommendations. You know, I I don't know necessarily that optimizing all of those things really ends up making a difference in the end. And you'll have to let me know if doing those things actually changes the score significantly at all. Because on one of my sites that were built really similarly, I went through and I tried to adjust a bunch of that stuff, and I it basically is performing the same as the one that I did nothing on. So I would be curious to see if your scores get better as a result. As far as table of contents, plugins, he's using simple. Yeah, I'm using stuff that's really simple. Lucky, yes, I'm using Lucky WP table of contents. It's supposed to be light, and even though I think it still makes a flag with Leap, I just use it anyway because I'm tired of changing things. Stephen, what's going on there? Stephen Cruz, our longtime friend and colleague. How's it going? How are things with your sites? I always want to hear. Josh said I would never add a table of contents, and he's entitled to his opinion. I mean, I think, what is it, Mediavine? They want people to not have tables, the jump, like the table of contents with the jump, because they want people to stay on the page as long as possible. And then using the TOC, like it allows people to jump down. So they skip some of the ads, maybe some of the more valuable ad placements to get to the thing that they want to see. So maybe you make less money. And sort of the compromise, I think, is using the collapsible table of contents. So when people land, it shows up collapsed, and if they want to expand it, then they can, but it also keeps them on the page longer. Yes, to each their own. Peak, what's going on, says might be a coincidence. So I don't know what the things are that is a coincidence. Talking about indexing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's like does a cause is it correlation and causation? Like, I'm not sure. Somebody will have to remind me what is correlation does not equal causation. Is that right? Somebody correct me. Eric says that he thinks that the table of contents is useful for one thing. If your first H2 has the keyword you target, then the first link on the page does match the H2. Graham says that he noticed a drop in traffic that coincided with an LCP drop on all pages from good to bad. So trying this as an experiment, not chasing the score for the sake of it. Oh, that's interesting. So potentially your site has lost some rankings in the Google as a result of potentially maybe the page experience update that has been slowly rolling out and torturing us about whether or not our sites will be impacted by it. So the question then, I wonder, if you're tracking keywords, Graham, and are you tracking keywords? Because I would be curious to know if you saw any adjustment also as far as your keyword tracker scores, because sometimes you see maybe a drop in traffic, or a change in the speed scores, or the Core Web Vitals scores, but you don't see a change in your the keywords that you're tracking. And there's so many potential reasons for that, but I was just curious, so we could really like narrow down what was causing that. TOC does nothing special other than skip your content. Yes. There. Steven says, as far as his updates, he says he is excellent, which is excellent. Says he's been doing a content push since December. My big site steadily dropped in numbers from September to December. There was a lot going on in the Google world in last fall. And it seems like it's continuing month on month. There's never any time for us to say, okay, like we survived, because there's just one more thing next month. He also says that he's found some ClickBank offers that fit with the content and made $1,700 with ClickBank so far this month. I'm very pleased. I would be pleased also. I wouldn't say experimented, surfed, looked at ClickBank a lot in near the beginning of this journey, and so I have a good idea of what is in there, and I would have to imagine that you would have had to dug around for a while to find like the right kind of offer, because a lot of the stuff that's on there is like really so-so, but also that would actually convert. Because sometimes, the offers that they have, like the products that they have, maybe they are niche specific, but then you get to the product page, and you're like, really, like, really. So that's cool. That is exciting. Graham says, going back to the question of whether or not there was a correlation between the LCP update and keyword shifting, he said lost about 5,000 keywords out of 25,000 in total, so lots of changes. Yeah, it would be hard not to try and connect up the LCP to the keywords, but I would wonder if part of the reason why your LCP is adjusted has to do with the ads being served, because I would just be tempted. I would wonder if you turned off. If you turned off Ezoic, because I'm assuming you're running Ezoic on that. I wonder if you turned off ads, if it would result in adjustments to your LCP. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm even wearing a T-shirt there. I'm just wondering that, and it might be a test worth testing. Like, do the updates you're doing, right? And then let them run for a while, like just let things roll and let things settle out, give it a chance for the things to be updated. Google to get caught up, because Lord knows they don't update things, live. But then if the LCP doesn't adjust, I would like do a test, right, on a specific page, maybe turning ads off on your homepage to see if see where that score is being produced. Because I mean, the LCP is a shift, right? And sometimes the ads that are being shown on the site can do some of the shifting. So I'm just super curious. Tintin, what is going on? We almost never catch you here on the stream. How are things going with your projects? Please let us know. I'm just scrolling down. Folks are still talking about tables of contents, which is an interesting discussion. And then talking about affiliate versus ads, also good. Going back to the next update I had planned to talk about as far as indexing. I'm also working on right now. I'm working on 3 sites right now, even though I swore up and down I was only going to work on 2. But I have done this month, been working on my site in collaboration with Otis, my Otis.global website. And so what happened with this was that I got most of my January content done, like 19 out of 25 articles, and then completely failed in February, and then came back together in March to say, okay, I'm going to try this again. And instead of writing the content myself, I just decided to order it from Buy Sell Text, and just stick with one content provider versus putting it like multiple content providers, just so I could know, right? It's like, this is the content over here. And people have started asking me, because I've used both Writer Access and Buy Sell Text, like which is better, especially at the lowest level, because usually I just order the lowest level and then do my best to edit it so that it's at least bearable if it's terrible. And sometimes it's great and I don't have to do anything to it. But what I can say, from having used both of these providers, is that the lowest level Buy Sell Text is a little bit more expensive. You're talking about 2 cents a word versus 2.5 cents a word. But the thing with Buy Sell Text that doesn't happen over at Writer Access is that every article that I have ordered or launched, like as it would be with Writer Access, gets picked up generally within a couple hours with Buy Sell Text, and then it gets delivered generally within 3 or 4 days. So usually not like immediately, right? It's pretty rare to have somebody pick up an article and then have it delivered same day. But in general, within 3 or 4 days, that content is there. I have yet to have an article where it got picked up that they came back and were like, oh, it can't be done, or, my bad, like give it back, and then have it go back into the queue to be picked up by another writer. So it has been very consistent, and the content is maybe not like fireworks, like mind blowing, right? Like, oh my God, at the lowest quality, this is the best thing ever. But generally, I don't have the articles that are terrible. And sometimes with Writer Access, an article will come back and it's just so bad that you know that it's not usable. So in general, with at the lowest level, buy-sell text so far has been a little more expensive, but consistent and decent enough. Not amazing, but decent enough. On the other hand, writer access is slightly cheaper. Sometimes when you post content to be ordered, it gets picked up immediately, and then it will come back sometimes within hours, right? So you could have, articles in the queue, and then, within a couple hours, you have content that you can edit and post, which is awesome if you're sitting down and working for the day. But sometimes content doesn't get picked up for days or at all. So you could have like a lot of articles in the queue for somebody to pick up, and they're just not articles that want people want to write. They don't go anywhere. And I looking at queue, I just continually order content every month regularly, and some stuff I just if it doesn't get picked up, I just relaunch it so that it still stays fresh, because people look at the due date, or how long it's available, and they're like, oh, like this has been sitting here too long. I don't want to have to deliver it by tomorrow or the next day, so I just go back and revise the date to give people more time to pick it up. Like they're looking ahead and they're thinking, oh, maybe I will write content this weekend, but it's got to be due in the next 2 days. Well, I'm not going to work on it. So I find that has been helping, maybe from a psychological standpoint. But there's still some content that comes back and it's really amazing. And you're like, wow, I'm shocked that this is 2 cents a word content. You're like, wow, this is really well researched and really well written, and I'm flabbergasted. And then sometimes it comes back and it's god awful. And then sometimes you put articles in and a writer picks them up, and then they get dropped later. And so, like right before the due date, you're like, oh, this is supposed to be due tomorrow, and the writer has had it for 9 days, so I should have content tomorrow. And then the article gets kicked back to the queue, and then you're like, great, that's annoying. But sometimes in the end, especially when you have a longer article, that can be significantly cheaper to get it through writer access than dealing with sort of the bumpiness versus getting it over at buy-sell text. Also, I find it really obnoxious over at buy-sell text that you cannot archive completed projects, at least that I can figure out. And that's one of the reasons why I do like writer access. I like their dashboard better, because once the article has been picked up and then written and then completed, I can put it archived, so it removes it from my active stuff. But with buy-sell text, and somebody could explain to me, if I'm a moron, I'm missing it, but I basically have to go through, when you have a lot of content, like, did I actually post that? Because it's still in the same place. It shows the completed date, but when I have a lot of stuff that was completed on the same day, and I have to go back through, and then it's not always. Anyway, it just means that I have to be a lot more careful to go back and like do some comparing. Did I get to that or not? Or do I have content there that is finished that I haven't published yet because I'm not organized enough? And if you're only doing like 10 articles a month, it's not a big deal. But when you're trying to do more, then it becomes annoying. So that's where I'm at. Checking the chat because the chat gets away from me. I see Corey. What's going on? He says that buy-sell text lowest tier also doesn't have as much problem with spinning. That's good to know. I have definitely seen some stuff in the writer access world at the lowest tier that, to me, I thought they were using one of the AI services, and it's obnoxious. Tintin says he's watching only replays of the stream because he doesn't have too much free time. Hey, it happens, especially with folks who are trying to do websites and work a full-time job. I mean, I get it. He says, I'm working on only one website and for now have 600 visitors per month. And I say, that's a good plan. And it sounds like a good start. It does. Next, with a dad joke, he says, what do farmers use to make crop circles? A protractor. Har, har. Game guy with a question. Wow, I feel like it's been a long time since we've had one of those. He says, do you think your law school education helps in your editing and written communication for blog posts? Yes, for many reasons. One, I think surviving law school helps you survive the pain, I guess, of trying to do work a full-time job and then also come home and then do more work after having, being tired. Because let's see, back in law school, every hour that you would spend in class usually took, if you were doing the work, usually took about 4 hours to prep for. And any other former lawyer or law student in the chat can call me out if they think I'm wrong, but it would take between 3 and 4 hours to get ready for every hour of class. I mean, there was just so much reading and then studying and then outlining and all the things. So you generally spend hours and hours and hours and hours every day, and you had no choice. And it was 7 days a week doing this. And so now, when you need to sit at a desk for a long time and you need to work at a reasonably high level, I feel like my tolerance for sitting and doing maybe mind-numbing tasks like interlinking like hundreds and hundreds of posts, like have a pretty high tolerance for that. I can sit and listen to music and get things done. As far as actually writing blog posts, we're trained to think in a very linear manner. And so in outlining, like generally I will outline an article. So start with the H1 and then the H2s and the H3s and the H4s. And that's one of the things we were trained to do. So you could basically use the outline. You could read the outline, kind of an understanding of what you needed to know, because that's what you were called upon to do in class in the Socratic method. Is you couldn't have the whole book and flip through it when you got called on, or you needed to refresh your recollection. You had like a 1 to 2 page outline for the day or for the test. And so you refresh your recollection, and then just pray that when you got called on, you had reminded yourself enough so that you could like cogently answer a question. So I don't always do a good job of writing all of my content that way when I'm doing it myself. But I have always have it in the back of my mind that a good way to at least get the basics, especially when I'm really struggling on writing a piece of content, is to use the headings to get me there. I definitely think I've gotten lazy over time with making sure that everything that needs to go into a blog post goes there, because I've gotten around to thinking more about the keyword that I'm targeting, and like, okay, the keyword needs to be here, here, and here, and then I'll get content here, here, and here, and then towards the end, maybe getting lazy about the stuff that gets in there in the end, because I don't know necessarily that it's as important as a law school outline would have been, because I feel like most of the job has been done, and that's my fault. Something that I definitely need to work on more is creating better content overall. But yes, it has helped a lot with creating content and thinking in a linear manner. Does that answer the question? I mean, I could talk about law school for forever and nobody would think it was interesting. Eric says, quick tip for everyone. This rejects in I don't even know what that means. He says it will show you all the keywords with 8 or more words in them. That is interesting. I do not even have any idea how you would deploy that. Dad Joke says, the internet connection at my farm was really poor, so I moved the modem to the barn. Now I have stable Wi-Fi. So it's like farm-related online business keywords, which is awesome. Graham is out. Later, everyone. Later, Graham. I'm talking about the GSC rejects. So I don't even know how to pronounce that. Is it rejects with a J or is it reget? It sounds even funny. I'm assuming it's rejects are pretty awesome and definitely underutilized. I have no idea how to use them. Eric did say that he found amazing keywords he was ranking for with very low competition, therefore very easy to grab. Yes, basically somebody will have to make a video and show me how to do this. Eric says, 1 thumb up for Amelia. And he says, I disliked her ratio to be reg X. Is that right? Reg X? Okay, so Eric says, open Search Console, click Performance, click New, and then Query, and then, all right. So I'm sitting here, and I'm not going to do it live, because what I will end up doing is showing you guys all my passwords and my social security number and everything else. So I'm just clicking over to check because I'm curious. And then new, okay, I see it. So new, so there's search type web, and then date last 3 months, and then there's a spot that says plus new, and then query, And then custom. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Thank you for that. I feel like I just learned something, and folks, you should try it. Maeve says, Reg X. That wasn't Maeve saying that. That was Josh. Reg X. Okay. So not Regex, but Reg X. One of these days, we will be better able to hide the fact that I don't know what I'm doing. It's going to be a while, though. Good phonics. Phonics didn't work for me. Reg X. Maeve says, and this is getting back to what Maeve has to say, says that she was on form today. Yes. Burned over 2,000 calories. I shouldn't have gone to bed and fell asleep as I put muffins in the oven. So what you're saying, it was a good day, sort of, kind of. But anyway, the long detour, I had started to talk about the indexing situation on the Otis case study site, because I had talked about indexing on the MIGA site. So one of the questions, I had with using an age domain is whether or not indexing would be a problem or a situation. And so in the first month, nothing indexed at all, like nothing, right? Which, was disappointing, because you think, oh, it's an older domain. It should do what it needs to do, but it didn't. So in February, I decided, because I had used it and had decent success with it, is try the rank math plugin on it. And within a relatively short period of time, like 75% of the initial run of about 20 articles was indexed. And those articles have kind of bounced in and out since then. And a couple of them I have resubmitted. And so right now, I think out of the initial 19, like 17 or 18 of them are showing up in ServerBot appropriately, and are getting traffic with Google. I did a run of about 40 articles in the last couple of weeks, and so far, using that plugin, and I wish kind of that I'd taken it off, because then I would like to see how it's different, and maybe I will in the next run. But so far, about 50% of those articles are indexed after about a week. So not like mind blowing, like, oh my goodness, but the site is technically 2.5, just over 2.5 months old with this new content. I mean, on a like a more than 10-year-old domain. But as far as indexing, the indexing situation, that's what it is. So maybe not as good as what's going on the MIGA site, which is everything is indexing within almost everything, not everything, but most things are indexing within 48 hours, versus a brand new site that is been in the sandbox where nothing is indexing. And I think there's several of our friends that are around this community, either live or on the replay, or in that situation where nothing has been indexed at all. So can we say with any certainty that it has anything to do with the domain? And no, not really, not at all, because I'm also using the rank math plugin and use that to try to get things moving. So it's not an objective scientific study, but I do think it's interesting to just watch this stuff and then see, because if this were a brand new site on a fresh domain and things were indexing within, a week, like even half the stuff, I think I would be really thrilled. But for an age domain that's this old, I don't know what to expect, right? Because I've never done this before. So that's where it is. I don't have Carl's results where I can't come out and trumpet like this is the fastest growing site ever. It feels so far like a pretty average launch so far. As of today, the site has 55 articles. And technically, according to my schedule, by the end of the month, I'm looking at the date. Like when I look like this, usually I'm looking to try to figure out what date it is and what is the year, because I have forgotten. But at the end of March, the site was supposed to be at 94 articles to match what I produced on the MIGA site in the first 3 months. I'm not sure I'm going to quite get there, but I do anticipate that I should be caught up by April. I hope. I hope. So I'm going to try to get to 94 articles this month. I probably won't make it, but I should make it by next month. And so then hopefully by then I'll be able to have my processes and procedures together and have it with it to where things can progress on as scheduled, as anticipated. Jana says she's late to the party, and I say it's still awesome to have you, late or not. Josh says, make sure that all the links to the domain are pushing to content or to a real URL. I did that in the beginning, I do believe, but it is worthwhile probably to go back and check. So what I did was here's what I did. I went and pulled an Ahrefs report on the domain and then pulled what I thought were all of the backlinks to the domain. And then I went and did a 301 redirect for most of the stuff. There was very little I could recreate. And so for the most part, I have redirected them at the homepage, at the primary, at the basic part of it. Yes, Otis offered to help me with that, but when they did a review of the site, for the most part, I did okay, they said. So we'll see how it plays out. And it could be that I'm not doing it right, or it could be that, and here's the thing, like, to compare to Carl's age case study, my website has 55 articles on it, and it's, not quite 3 months old. And I think his is 4 months old or 5 months old, and it has what, like 500, 300, 400, 500, several hundred. So to have a result like that is awesome. And I also think a big part of that result is that he has a lot of content on the site, and I don't, because I don't have the money set aside to put into both the MIGA site and this project at the same time. And I kind of like to grow them slower. So yeah. Didn't Carl also front load a lot of his content? Yeah, I think so. And good for him. Like, it's not a critique or a criticism at all. Like, I'm excited to see him having a site that's taking off. It's really fun. Game Guy says, I feel like Carl has the Midas touch, except for his mega website. He seems to hit home run after home run. I don't know if it's a Midas touch. I think he is fairly normal in that not everything that he does is like to the moon. I do think that he works really hard, though, and I totally think his whatever success that he's having is the product of the work that he's doing. Josh says that Ahrefs doesn't have all the links. Ask Otis. Okay, that's worthwhile to follow up on then, because what I did was just did an Ahrefs report and then work back from there. So that's a good thought. I don't show anything to YouTubers all day. Nope. And he gets social push too. I just think it's a good example of what can be done when you are working more than one platform. So if you are comfortable using YouTube to push traffic to your sites, then great. I know that he's also had some struggles with people connecting up YouTube to his properties and like doing negative things and stealing things. And I don't have any desire to deal with it at all. Game Guy says, Carl's such an awesome guy. I'm happy for success. Same. Frankly, anybody who's in this chat who is having success, big or small, I'm super happy for them. I feel jealous, when I see people who are ahead of me, because I'm like, I want to be where they are. But I'm just so glad that that's what's happening. And I know there are a lot of folks in the chat right now who are not to where they want to be yet and feel those feelings of impatience. I guess I'm speaking of myself, right? I'm speaking of myself. I feel impatient. And I still feel that way, right? And this is year 4 of being in this business, and I'm still like not to where I want to be just yet, even though I have no room to criticize my progress. I'm still hungry, you know? And I feel like, and people can put their hands up and say, me too, like, regardless of where you're at, like, just tell me, are you with me? Like, still hungry to do more, to do it better, to earn more, like, to just, yeah. I feel like that, like, dealing with that feeling, is something that everybody who's, I think, in this business has to deal with over time. I remember how exciting making that first $100 a month was, right? Like, like the rush, like, oh, it's gonna work, and then it becomes no longer satisfying, right? And then you have this mental load of like, oh, like, this thing that used to make me really happy doesn't make me happy anymore, and I have to go and find something else that makes me happy. And how do you just come back to the computer every single day or on your schedule? Maybe it's not every day, but coming back and continuing to do the work, even though you're not getting that rush of like, yes, like a new achievement unlocked, like the MIGA site, right? Getting 200,000 page views a month. I'm like, yes, like that was something that's been on my goal sheet for a while, but then taking it to 200, like that just again feels so far away. I did, and then I no longer feel that rush of like excitement, like I did it. Now I'm like, oh God, that's another 100,000 page views a month. How am I going to get there? Can I get there? Can I get there soon? Can I afford to do it without bankrupting myself? Eric says that he's not publishing as many articles as he wanted this month. Me either. But keep working on it at least a little every day, little steps. Yes. Zach says a little jealousy is healthy for an entrepreneur. I think as long as it's balanced. I mean, you try to figure out why sometimes entrepreneurs are so unhappy, or they're at the top of their game and then they do something terrible, like remove themselves. Like he's like, how, like these people are you know they have so much money and they seem to have everything, but it's some of us are addicted to progress. Okay, me. I'm just speaking of myself. Me, like I'm addicted to moving projects along, and like the idea of just sitting in one place without progress sounds like torture. And anyway, just sharing. I don't know how I got into that tangent. I was talking about indexing and an age domain, and then got. Jana said me too. I think I already said that, but I'm cool with it again. Steven says that one of his sites is struggling with indexing and ranking. Superbot shows 184 out of 255 articles ranking at 15 months old. So what's the plan with it? Like, are you doing anything with it as far as trying to address it, or just sort of letting it roll and then seeing what happens? Curious. Eric, talking to Zach's comment about jealousy for entrepreneurs, he says, as long as it keeps you motivated, because real jealousy is a bad feeling. Yes. It's like, where does the line though? Like when the jealousy becomes obsessive. I mean, I like talking about admitting things, like I will obsess, like sit and just spin on thinking about where I want things to go, and that's not even productive time, mental energy spent. Like I will sit and like look at numbers, which is why I occasionally have to do analytics breaks, because I will just waste time like looking at the numbers, and I'll scroll through in analytics, like looking for articles that have popped, like just scroll, looking by article and like how much traffic the articles have gotten in a given week or recently, like did my effort recently produce fruit, like are things happening as a result of what I have done, and like find some legitimate reason to be doing that, like, oh, like Google is loving this content, I should produce more of that. But really I just want to sit and look at the numbers to try to, I don't know, feel good. Anyway, don't look at Google Analytics so much, friends. It's not good for you. Oh my goodness, to talk about. Oh, now it says that my connection is unstable again. Well, hopefully it stabilizes itself. In the meantime, for those of you who are in the Icarus accountability spreadsheet, please do me the favor of going in there and then just showing some love to some of our colleagues, especially the ones who have been quiet this month, neighbor nudge or something. I'm going to go in after the stream and do the same. If you have not checked out the my personal blog, the link is in the description. I plan to update over there at least a couple times a month. But if you already checked out the recent post as of last week, you are all good. I have not posted anything new, so don't worry about that. Otis is having a spring break sale. There is a small benefit to going and searching for an age domain right now, if that is something you are interested in. Ooh, I have my note in here to say to that the MIGA site, that's why I make notes. The MIGA site, I have crossed 800 posts. So you recall that it is middle of March, and last year, my goal was to get all of 500 articles posted, right? So 500 articles in 1 year. And so far in 2.5 months, I've gotten another 300 articles. And so maybe by the end of April, hopefully we'll cross 1,000, which would be really awesome. I'm really thinking hard about the end of the year and quarter 4 thinking, okay, like if I can get the content up and then make sure that it's indexed, that quarter 4 could be maybe awesomer than I could have ever imagined. Anyway, folks, it has been enjoyable. For those of you who are catching this on the replay, please let me know that you were here and let me know how the week went for you. And for those of you who are um, in certain parts of the world, it is not so stable. And good thoughts to your part of the world. And we will see you next. Take care.